Yo, Schizo Jitsu here. UFC 303 International Fight Week finally here, minus the headliner of Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. We got this card revamped as far as the co-main and the main event, and we got Alex Poatampahea, light heavyweight champion, defending his bout for the second time against Yuri Prochazka in a rematch. They fought back in November. That's when Poatan got the stoppage, second round. It was kind of a controversial stoppage, a little quick stoppage, but he definitely rocked Yuri with a short left and finished him off on the ground. When he had some elbows from the top, ended up right on top, so it would have been some ground and pound situation straight in the mount. The fight was stopped abruptly, so it was kind of a premature stoppage, but this is the rematch, and we'll get to see what's up with this. There's going to be no denials now. There's no denying that both these guys this is a clash of the titans right here. Both these guys are beasts. They're both the two most dangerous guys in the light heavyweight division, which I feel like Yuri is the most dangerous fight for Alex Pahea, besides Ankalaev, who we haven't seen yet. So we've seen this fight already back in November. We'll see the improvements made. This is a short notice fight. This is the second time now, two fights in a row where Alex Pahea is saving the UFC card. He saved UFC 300, short notice against Jamal Hill, and won that fight impressively, devastating fashion, still the show type fight. And while also Max Holloway on that fight, and Justin Gaethje was amazing as well. That was obviously the most epic knockout probably ever, but still, what a way to, he saved that card. So that's UFC 300. Now he's short notice again, 2 weeks notice to come in and fill the shoes of Conor McGregor against Michael Chandler. So Alex Pahea is a bona fide superstar at this point. I mean, UFC, you could say company man, whatever, but he's like a UFC's dream, UFC's wet dream, because he'd come in, save cards. He don't care. He's always training. He was traveling in Australia, training with Tai Tuivasa, a heavyweight in the UFC, sparring with him. I mean, just basically touring the world and still training, though, staying in shape. Yes, he had two broken toes against Jamal Hill, or I think he had one going into the fight, broke another one in the fight. So that could be an issue still, because it's only been 2 months since UFC 300. But we never know. I mean, he's ready to go. He's been training. I mean, that he's going to get he's going to get a fat bag for this one. He's saving the UFC on this. Basically, no negotiations needed at that point. Like, this is just what I want. Chama, give me show me the money. Chama, and the UFC had to bow down for sure, because who else were they going to get? So even the co-main as well got changed on this card. It was Jamal Hill originally against Carlos Ulberg. But both of those guys basically pulled out. And there's been speculation that Jamal Hill pulled out as soon as he seen Pahea was on the card. But he has injuries in his knees. He has, I think it's a meniscus and a MCL sprain. And he just came off a long injury with his Achilles heel. So it's kind of like, you don't want to chance it. It's kind of the best case scenario for Jamal Hill to move on and get more rest, in between, heal up, and just get better, heal up and just get better, what I'm saying, and train and just come back stronger next time. So, I mean, it's kind of a blessing in disguise for Jamal Hill. But then Ulberg pulls out, Anthony Smith comes in, and he was going to fight Ulberg, but then Ulberg pulls out. So now it's Anthony Smith against Roman Dolidze. And that's in the third fight. That's in the co-main, in the main card. So the co-main is going to be now Brian Ortega against Diego Lopez. Two dangerous guys with the jiu-jitsu. This could be like two of the best jiu-jitsu guys in that division. But now, Diego Lopez riding high prospect, fast pace, fast starter, explosive power. And he might have an advantage there just because of his explosive power. And maybe Ortega starts a little slower, a little bit more reserved with even with their grappling. It's not like these guys are going to go out there and just shoot double legs. They're both jiu-jitsu guys and strikers. So, and I feel like Ortega kind of fell in love with the striking a lot. So he does have some decent kickboxing and stuff like that, boxing. So, but Diego Lopez, a little bit younger version, hungrier. This is a crazy fight to call right there. I mean, I'm leaning, like, I want Brian Ortega to win. I'm a big fan, but also I like Diego Lopez. He's up and coming. Like, he's another freaking dream for UFC because, just smiley guy, happy, young, all the energetic. You know what I'm saying? He could bring a different fan base. But then you got Ortega, wily veteran, who looked great in his rematch against Yair Rodriguez. Got that finished. And so it's like, and he's got a crazy level game. He's basically like Henry Gracie's protege, kind of like stepson type thing, raised him. And I mean, who better to teach you Gracie or jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu than a Gracie, Henry Gracie, you know what I mean? So, and then he took him under his wing, brought him all the way up, and it showed throughout most of Ortega's early career, where he basically was tapping everybody. Anytime it reached any of the ground, even if it didn't reach the ground, he's jumping guillotines and getting finishes. That being said, like, this might just be a stand-up fight, and I think Diego Lopez is going to be more explosive at the start. Like, he's going to come out swinging a lot, like faster, harder, like more power, which could lead, if Ortega does have a chin. He showed that in many fights against Max Holloway. He showed his toughness, and his chin, and able to go all the rounds. I think they threw in the towel or something like that, but it was epic. His chin was epic. He was never really rocked. He was just getting bloodied up. But he showed that he has that. He has a heart for sure. He has good hands. He has nice kicks. I like his kicks too. They're good. They're nasty. And obviously we know his jiu-jitsu game. So either one of these guys could win this fight at any moment. If someone capitalizes, someone gets hurt for sure, and it takes top position. I don't think Diego Lopez is going to be afraid to take top position. If he rocks Ortega on the feet or hurts him, he's not going to be afraid to follow him down. Because he's not going to fear the jiu-jitsu as much, because he's versed as well in that realm of fighting. But I don't know. You got the wily vet. I don't think we can count out Ortega. He's still hungry. He's ranked third right now. He just had a good comeback win after a long layoff himself. So he's definitely getting stronger and better. His striking is going to continue to get better. And like I said, he's lethal on the ground. And I don't know. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Ortega in this fight. I really do. I think everyone's going with a young, hungry lion, Diego Lopez, which I freaking, you can't, why not? Because he is hungry, he's faster, he's younger, all that. But the level of competition they face, basically Ortega lost 3 times, all against killers. So the fights he's lost has only been against the best. So, I feel like he has a little bit of edge and experience here. Yes, UFC 300, Diego Lopez showed out. He got a finish. He's devastating fashion. Like I say, he's a beast. But I still feel like I'm kind of leaning Ortega just because it's a 3-rounder. I don't feel the gas tank's going to be too much. I see he's a little slower starter, and Diego Lopez, yes, he's a lot younger, more explosive and stuff like that, like I was saying, but he might make a mistake, and I think Ortega can capitalize on that. Maybe doing a little too much right away. And if you don't get Ortega out of there, because we all know, like I said, Ortega's tough as nails, has a great granite chin. So, he might not be able to get him out of there right away. And if that happens, I could see Ortega maybe getting like a 3rd round, like late finish, like he used to pull those finishes out of, the 3rd round submissions. I think this could be another one of them. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say Brian Ortega, 3rd round, like submission. Like, I'm thinking a choke, like a rear naked choke, maybe a guillotine, wherever he wants it as far as chokes, because his game's great. Obviously, he's T-City for a reason. It could be a triangle. But I see him more maybe getting the back, getting a rear naked choke. I'm kind of, like I said, I'm going with the underdog here. Obviously Diego Lopez is up and coming, a freaking huge prospect. He's going to be a contender real soon. Already kind of is. He's 1 win away. So if he does win this fight, he's definitely in the picture right there. He's definitely in the title picture immediately with the win over Brian Ortega. This will be the biggest test up till now for Lopez. But I'm leaning, like I said, this is still early in the week. I'm leaning Ortega, just because of the mindset of him, that, he looked a lot better. He never really looked bad other than against like Max Holloway, really. That was the only time, but really Max Holloway's volume was a little too much for him. It was just a matchup thing, and he wasn't able to get it to the ground like he needed to. He was so much better on the ground, but it's like, if you're not able to get it there, then I've talked about this many times, right? I don't think he really needed to fire his striking coach. He needed to hire a wrestling coach, and just get into the wrestling aspect of it more and get to takedowns and get on top where that is your realm, But in this fight, they're both versed everywhere, So it's going to come down to who lands first, who makes the mistakes, who makes the adjustments. And I can see T-City's toughness being enough to, get to that later 3rd round-ish and maybe pull off a submission. So I'm going with that. And I'm only going to talk about the main 2 fights. And the main fight, Poatan, Alex Pereira, must-watch TV. Just fun. He's just fun. Poatan's just fun. Chamba, just everything he does is just, he's got good social media. He puts up his sparring. He don't care who sees what. Such a high-level kickboxer where, like just his stance, and his feints, it's a feint in itself, because you kind of just don't know what's coming, just the way he's rocking back and forth and kind of just making reads and going, and he's real patient in there. He's not trying, like a lot of people just think, just because he has such nuclear power in his left hand, and his nasty leg kicks that he just goes in there, guns blazing, chin in the air, all that. Yeah, his chin is high, but he also his footwork is so well that like his defense, like I used to think his defense wasn't that good because he don't have that boxer type head movement, you know. But like what I've noticed is that like his defense is obviously like kickboxing. The defense is more like deflecting with your arms, getting your arms in the way, stuff like that, and distance. But his defense is distance oriented, if that makes sense. Like as soon as you're trying to wind up and throw a punch, he might just take a step back and then he's still in position to throw. Like he's not really like saying doing that type of stuff, dodging. He's blocking, where he's seeing stuff coming. His vision is really good, so he sees everything coming. And when you're trying to advance and be aggressive, he just knows how to maybe take a step back, half step back, and circle out of danger, and then come right back. You know, so it's like he never goes straight back to the cage, very rarely. Jiri in the first fight did kind of have him a couple times going back into the cage, where he definitely had to fight off the cage, and he did, just to get back to the center, which he does really well. Like I said, like he doesn't normally just hang out on the cage or just go straight backwards. It's usually maybe a back step or a half step and then start circling. So it's like you're still kind of following him, and he's still gauging and making reads on your distance. And that was a problem in the first fight for Jiri. Obviously, everybody knows the nasty leg kicks. And, you know, Jiri didn't have success. You know, he had a takedown in the first round, did a little damage, a couple elbows, nothing too crazy, but was able to kind of hold down Pereira a little bit. But at the same time, Poatan was landing some nasty leg kicks. First one he landed, like, dropped him. You know, the first one immediately just dropped. And so because Yuri's always, like, unorthodox, you know, kind of like, you know, hands down, throwing from wherever, different angles, you know, chin up, though. You know, that's the one thing. So, but you kind of never know what he's going to do, because he's feigning takedowns, coming up with uppercuts. You know, he's throwing down, and then he might go down there and muscle and try to get a takedown like he did the first fight. After he ate a couple of those leg kicks, his game plan changed really quick. And if you notice, you go back and watch the fight, like he switches stances constantly. So he's kind of just flowing, just going back and forth. He's going from southpaw, he's going to orthodox. He's just constantly switching. And every time he would go to orthodox, normal stance, because he is so heavy on that lead leg, and, you know, Alex Pereira would meet him with a nasty leg kick, with a low calf kick, and kind of trash his leg first round. Yeah, he was still there. He was still pushing forward, but you could tell it was affecting him, because he was starting. It almost took the orthodox stance away from Jiri, you know, because he became conscious of it. If you watch it like a couple of times where he'd catch himself and go orthodox and then immediately switch back to right, you know, to southpaw, because he felt like that leg kick's coming. And it did. Every single time when he would switch back, boom, leg kick. So, I mean, I think, you know, Pereira kind of took away that stance almost in that fight, and kind of made Jiri almost start to get, I don't want to say desperate, but Jiri kind of fights reckless and throws a lot of crazy stuff out there, techniques, caution to the wind almost. But, you know, he's still calculated with it also. And don't be wrong, Jiri has devastating power. Both these guys obviously have the two biggest hitters, I think, in the division, and can knock out anybody at any time. They can knock each other out. Like Pereira could get knocked out in this fight, and Jiri could get knocked out. Obviously, we've seen in the first fight. So that being said, I feel like Jiri, he had to make a lot of adjustments. Like he's probably gonna. I think we're gonna see a lot more southpaw from Jiri, and I think he's gonna try to mix in the takedowns. I don't think he's just gonna go full blown like he's a wrestler now. I think that would be a mistake against someone like Poatan, because Pereira has proven that he's really strong and he's good at staying safe, you know, even in bad positions. Jan had his back for a whole round when they fought back in Utah. You know, he had his back for the whole round, and he stayed safe, you know, threatening chokes, all that. Same thing, you know, for 2 rounds, actually, I think he had him down, you know, and then Jiri had him down in the first fight. I think, if anything, it might be tiring to even hold him down, to be able to get the leverage to throw punches, and it might work against you if you try to do too much wrestling. But Jiri does need to mix it up, or at least have the threat of the takedown, like do the feint, you know, the feint shot to uppercut, just keep his head off the center line. And he does have good head movement, you know, Jiri does, but he has to, because his hands are down, and he's, you know, jumping in and out, darting with like different weird combos, or throwing just power stuff, jumping with the flying knee or whatever, you know what I mean? So he's really explosive, but I just feel like Alex Pereira is definitely a better technical striker, and he just stays more composed in there, and he's not going to rush anything. He don't really make a lot of mistakes. You know, he did against Izzy in their second fight in the UFC when he got knocked out, and it was just something that I feel like he's corrected. Like, you know, when he had someone hurt, like he had Izzy hurt, you know, up against the cage, he was just kind of darting in and got a little reckless there. and Izzy was able to capitalize on that because of their first fight, so he made that read. But I also feel like Pajea's made that adjustment. So if he does get somebody hurt, he's not going to just rush in there and get crazy. He's still going to stay calculated, stay at that distance, stay where he's dangerous and making those reads and constantly touching with those leg kicks, doing damage there, throwing that jab to the body, setting up that left hook. And I think in this fight, I think it's going to, because if you look at the last two fights, it kind of seems like Pajea is just getting better and better as he has more fights at light heavyweight at 205. I mean, like he says now, there's no way he'd make 185 again, just because now he's just getting bigger, and I think he's getting more acclimated to that weight. So I think that he's looking stronger. Like if you look at what he did against Jamal Hill, it was almost flawless. Like, Jamal Hill was he was matching what Pajea was doing. They're tit for tat, like Pajea would land a leg kick, Jamal would return with a leg kick. But, and so, I mean, he was doing a good job as far as just matching what Pajea was doing, but he was also falling into Pajea's trap because Pajea was just timing him the whole time and setting him up for everything. And with his feint game, it was only a matter of time. Like Jamal Hill, it kind of showed that you have a knockout chance. And I think if you're going to choose to stand up with Pajea, that's your only chance is going to be a knockout. Like I want to say like a lucky shot, but you're going to have to knock him out. If you don't, I don't think you're going to just be able to have a kickboxing match for 3 rounds, for 5 rounds, whatever it is with this guy and not make the mistakes where he's going to make the read, land his devastating left, and put your lights out. And especially if your footwork's lacking or you're just fundamentals or just keeping your hands up, just little stuff. I mean, the little game of inches, I think that the distance management of Pajea is just so good that he is going to counter him. He's going to set up Jiri. He's going to probably make the reads a little bit faster this time because they fought before. And he also has some stuff to work on with Jiri, so I mean, he had he's going to download info and learn from that first meeting as well, just like Jiri is. We've seen Jiri, like I said, Poatan, I think we've seen the best version against Jamal Hill, and he's just getting better, as he's still young in the MMA sport, in the game. But I feel like Jiri he showed that he was still kind of getting pieced up, actually, by Alexander Rakic in their last fight at UFC 300 as well. He was getting pieced up for that round. I think it was round and a half, leg kicks they're not going to be as nasty as Pajea's, but he was like, Rakic was landing leg kicks at will. He was actually kind of piecing him up. If that was Alex Pajea type power, it would have been a different story. Maybe Jiri wouldn't have had that comeback finish, because Jiri was kind of getting pieced up. That was a comeback win where Jiri did look, he got the finish. He has that ability to take damage, come back because he's got that warrior freaking, I'm coming, freaking, he has that like spirit and fight about him where he's not going to give up. You got to kill him, even though he didn't, really at first he didn't really dispute the stoppage. Later on he kind of was like, it could have been a little quicker, but I mean it could have been a little longer, which I get and I agree. I feel like he was definitely not where he wanted to be. He just got dropped, and you're mounted by Pajea, which we just seen against Jamal Hill. Like his ground and pound's got to be nasty too, like with those hammer fists just sitting there, chama, So I mean that's gonna be yeah, that's it. I'm definitely picking Alex Pajea in this fight, but I also know that there's danger there with Jiri. Anytime you fight somebody that's unorthodox like that, can do crazy stuff, you never know what he's going to do. He's unpredictable, and he has knockout power. And with kicks, with hands, freaking spinning back fists, elbows. The guy's virtually a weapon. Like he could end the fight at any time, but Pajea's a little more calculated, definitely more versed, and he's seen this, guys who hit hard throughout his kickboxing career, and if you're just going to kickbox with this guy, I don't think Yuri's going to come out here and just start, I'm just going to wrestle him the whole time, because he might tire himself out, if you don't get the finish. And I don't think Pajea is as bad as on the ground as people think. I think he has a black belt for a reason, regardless of what we've seen in the Izzy fight when he, got taken down or whatever. I don't see that happening here. I feel like it's going to be a stand-up fight. And I honestly think Alex Pajea will make the reads a little bit faster. And I think Jiri will try to push the pace a little too much and be a little reckless with his chin up. And I think he's just going to get knocked out faster this time. I'm picking first round knockout by and still Alex Poatan, hands of stone, Chama, Pajea, and we'll see what's next after that. And I'm excited for this fight. Let me know what you guys think. Who's your picks in the main two, the main and the co-main? I'm not going to talk about the co-main because it's whatever to me. But yeah, that's all I got.